it's SFigReviews. We have a double whammy today, double review, or whenever you're watching this. I'm going to be focusing today on the other two characters I picked up from SecretWars Wave 2, which are Frank Payne, aka Constrictor, and Carl Crusher Creel, aka the Absorbing Man. To spoil part of this review, both these figures are hit and misses. There are some really nice qualities about both of them, but then there are so many little bits that Hasbro could have actually improved on these guys. In particular, Absorbing Man, as you're going to see soon. So let's have a look at the packaging. It is that big Secret Wars blister card, altered saying Marvel Legends Secret Wars, and it has the character name underneath in black, Constrictor Absorbing Man. Now, it is a big blister card, as you can see. I paid $42 Australian for both of these, equivalent to about 25 to 30 USD. Both of these guys, you can pause this review, this scene of the packaging, to read up on their bios, but it's essentially their own specific bios with legalese, how to use the lenticular shield for some reason, and the rest of the characters from this wave. Falcon, Daredevil, Magic, and quarter symbiote Spider-Man, aka alien costume Spider-Man, along with Just Man and Constrictor, of course, that we're going to be reviewing. Because it is a blister card, there is no work on the sides or the bottom of the packaging. Definitely that Hasbro is phasing out Build-A-Figures. They're not really doing many. They're only doing about 1 or 2 a year. They used to do about 3 or 4 a year. But they're definitely phasing out for this kind of idea of 80s and 90s nostalgia for this blister card packaging. Okay, let's actually have a look at Absorbing Man, Carl Crusher Creel, and Constrictor, aka Frank Payne. So, I actually really like both these guys just from look alone. I do definitely think that they both need stuff, but looking at Absorbing Man first, I really like the head sculpt. I've chosen this head sculpt with the eyebrows. I know there was that whole joke within the Hasbro stream when this was revealed. Oh, we couldn't decide what head to give him, eyebrows or no eyebrows, which is fair point, but when you factor in the fact that accessories-wise, spoiler alert, he doesn't come with any absorbing abilities, it's kind of a bit of a dickhead comment to make. But overall, they are really nice head sculpts either way. But still, the bodies type is a mix of two bodies. So we have Hercules, which is the torso and the arms. So the arms are pinless now. They have this nice sort of dark grey to black hairs just painted on there, sort of printed onto the arms, which I like on the forearms. The arm should have been wrapped around in the hair. I know it sounds weird saying that, but it would look a lot more natural, whereas they get it up to the pinless joints, to the pinless elbows, and it looks a little strange from the back. I don't think that collectors like you are going to be posing this figure, however, with him just facing a wall. I don't think you are. So, it still looks okay. It still looks alright. It is a little outdated in terms of articulation, but Hercules' body I'm fond of. It's one of my personal favorites. So I'm not mad that they used this body type, at least for the torso and the arms. And it is meant to be a skin-toned body type, so it works perfectly fine. Then you go down to the legs, which are essentially Luke Cage legs, or they might also be Talos from one of the Disney Plus garbage waves. But anyway, I really like the printing of the purple and the black stripes. It's really nice. Definitely Absorbing Man needs purple pants, okay? It just has to be. But he looks really good. They look really nice. Very clean with a matte finish. It looks like as well, just from my lighting, that the body's going to be a bit glossy. But I don't mind that. At least I guess you could argue he's sweating. Now, on to Constrictor. This is a reuse of the Vulcan body. In particular, they've chosen the Vulcan body that actually is used for the figures with capes. So Vision, Count Nefaria, Phantom Rider, because there's a hole in his back. But the head sculpt I really like. I feel like they could easily reuse that head sculpt like they used to in the past for someone like Guardian, some other masked character, maybe later down the line. I do really like the paint, but then you get to the back of it, and it's missing the paint. That whole sort of orangish, yellow, black stripe pattern is meant to go through to the back, and even the old 80s toy, which was an exclusive, Well, that had it painted back. But I don't mind the reuse of Vulcan body. I guess you've got to get your money out of it. It's, what, 5 years old now? 4 or 5 years old now? So I understand. One thing I don't like. The Vulcan arms have not been retooled, and they have these ugly cuts that, well, in this case, what Hasbro has done is they've resculpted new forearms. And what has that meant? That they've just put a fist and a gnarled hand in a fixed position. No articulation there. Basically, that cut just swivels. And you can see the gapping in the arm. I don't like that. Right? You could have easily done something else. If they just put a swivel in that original Vulcan body, the budget for retooling Constrictor, well, you wouldn't have had to have worried at all. Then you actually could have given Absorbing Man absorption abilities. And what you could have done, what Hasbro could have done, that stupid forearm cut, they could have moved it up to almost at where the elbow is. So you have that rotation, but at the same time, you could have given Constrictor proper hands, right? 2 fists, 2 gnarled hands, with the single joints, with the horizontal or the vertical joints. Simple extra points of movement. Another thing is, he should have had new boots. I don't like the fact that the Vulcan body, they keep just printing on these circular sort of cuts to match the legs and then just try and paint the legs. I don't like that. They've done it with Banshee, they've done it with Vision, they've done it with Count Nefaria, they've done it with so many characters that have got that sort of curved boot. I don't like it. At least with the forearm, I understand their logic. It's pretty dumb logic. But at least that the actual tentacles, which are Omega Red reuse, decoed out a little differently, they are secure in there. They're secure in those ports. Alright, let's jump to accessories. And accessories, we're going to start with Constrictor. And yeah, this is all you get, which sucks. It actually sucks. So you get the lenticular shield. I like the imagery of that. Frank Payne under the mask, flicking it back and forth. I don't know. It's that supervillain square, whereas the heroes get the orangeness, the orange circle. I don't know. I don't like them. They got to get trashed. I'm never going to use them. I'm going to stick them in a pencil case somewhere. But in terms of Constrictor, all he comes with, because he's got the molded hands that have no movement, he's got the Omega Red tentacles, which are molded in sort of this goldish yellow plastic with a bit of a light spray of silver paint, just to where they plug in at the ports, and then it's, yeah, that goldish yellowish plastic, and it looks good. They are a really nice sculpt. I think a lot of collectors are going to want these to be bendy wire, which I totally understand, but I don't mind this. And even as a figure, it does look cool. It definitely looks like a suit. It's meant to be, yeah, a cybernetic battle suit with twin wrist mounted adamantium coils. So electrified adamantium coils. And I find this story very interesting about the Constrictor, that he used to be a SHIELD agent. I'm just so surprised he basically got a breakdown and went, you know what, I'm going to become a snake villain, even though I'm not associated with a certain society. I was actually initially planning on skipping the Constrictor. Why? Because I don't like to collect dead characters. So characters who have died in the comic continuity, the main continuity of 616, that's just my personal rule. And they brought Constrictor back actually in this current ongoing Rogue series, which I'm really surprised about, because he supposedly died of cancer, of stage 4 cancer, and miraculously, oh hey, I'm alive as a millionaire now. You can pair this guy up with some Serpent Society villains if you want, but he's not associated with them. He's definitely worked with Taskmaster. He's good with Sabretooth. He works with a variety of characters in your Marvel collection. So in terms of articulation, this is on the standard Vulcan body mold. He has a neck peg that looks up and down pretty decently. The butterflies are okay. I think they're getting a bit better because of the reuse of the body. More copies are being printed. So the back movement of the butterflies isn't that great. Forward movement is getting better. He does have bicep cuts and also those forearm cuts, which there's no hand movement. There is double jointed arms. He has a waist cut along with an ab crunch, which goes really decently forward and back. So the waist cut is a full 360. His legs are pinless, double jointed. He can't really do the splits. He can kick out really well, kick back not too much. double jointed legs. He can kick his own bum. On top of that, he then has boot cuts and decent ankle pivot. But it's interesting now that moving on from Constrictor, we get a decent array of accessories with Absorbing Man, but they're not what we really want. So we get that same lenticular shield, yes, with an effect that makes him look like a stone monster, because he's absorbed stone in this picture. Why? Why? It's just annoying, you know? Creel also comes with this chain and ball, this sort of wrecking ball. It's okay. It sucks though. It looks good, but it sucks because that's a fixed plastic piece. That's not wired. And it's so loose as well. In his one hand he's given to hold it, which is a vertical hinged open gripping hand. And it kind of sucks. He can barely hold it. He comes with an open palm hand, which is kind of for absorption, I guess, and 2 fists. But the wrecking ball just isn't that great. It's sort of cast in a gunmetal plastic. It's not particularly a nice sculpt, at least for handles. Why did you have to do this weird bend in it to make it look like an L? Yeah, it's an L. It's $42 I've just lost. On top of that, though, apart from the fists, apart from the hands, we get 2 head sculpts that both look like Jason Statham. So that's clearly just happened. But the non-eyebrowed head sculpt looks like an angry Jason Statham. And the happy head sculpt looks like happy Jason Statham. I don't know why they've done this. Someone was clearly watching Shelter or The Mechanic. But Crusher does look good overall. And I definitely think that he looks great in terms of his design. Now, what I would have liked is actually his Contest of Champions design, because you could have gone full Hercules body mold with this, where you actually use the Contest of Champions design and make those legs pinless. Would have been great, because he has knee pads in the game. As much as I would have loved a Contest of Champions Absorbing Man, of course this is based on his Secret Wars appearances. This is just a series of random images and just current storylines that I've seen Absorbing Man in, especially in the recent Wolverine comics. And I kind of wish that the figure looked as badass as a bunch of these designs. It's such a missed opportunity that we didn't get any of these powered up designs, such as steel, or any metal form, or stone, or even Hulk's gamma blood, or him growing from absorbing bricks. But on top of that, he is able to fit in any display. He's an Avengers villain, he's a Thor villain, but he's mostly a Hulk villain. I wanted to quickly try something, and it actually involved Absorbing Man. And I couldn't really find many hands his size, unfortunately. But what if you had just included some different colored hands, just to show off his absorbing abilities? So I have here just some metal silver hands I found, along with a Captain Warbow and Rom the Space Knight hand, just to show you what it would look like if he kind of had some kind of absorbing abilities, which I think would have made such a difference, even if you included these little hands. Just something to show off his abilities. Okay, so for his articulation, the Absorbing Man's articulation, we have some really decent neck movement up and down. It is also on a neck peg. It is an older body, of course, that is being used for the torso. We also have a really decent tilt in the neck. His arms are no butterfly joints, but they are really beefy arms. Full 360 rotation. He's got a really decent bend, which is a little below 90. Uninterrupted bicep cut by those big arms, those big shoulders. Double jointed pinless arms. Now the fist and the hand that I've got on him are both on horizontal hinges. He has a really decent forward and back ab crunch. Full 360 waist cut rotation. Thigh cuts, double jointed, pinless knees. He does have foot movement, those boots, those shoes, but they are a bit stiff, and especially with the sculpt, so they're not exactly great, but they can rotate, they can't really move forward and back. And there is very little stiff ankle pivot. So it's time for size comparisons, and just to get their heights right, Constrictor measures in at 6.5 inches, Absorbing Man is right at 7 inches, could be 6.9, 7 inches. To start off, we have got 2 of my favorite figures in my collection, 2 heavy hitters. Now, it's questionable whether Absorbing Man is a Thor villain or a Hulk villain, and Constrictor has also fought both these guys. So here we have the 80th anniversary Incredible Hulk and Mighty Thor. Because someone is going to say, hey, he actually is a member of the Servant Society, when in reality he isn't. Here is Rock Python and Puff Adder on the Grim Reaper / Catwolf and Caliban body types. For our next comparison, I'm going to bring in Omega Red. Now, this Omega Red is from the Sauron Build-A-Figure wave, still holds up really well. And the reason I'm bringing him in is simply because his tentacles can be switched out. So you can turn these from carbonadium to adamantium quite easily, and they fit into Constrictor's arms very well. Along with Omega Red with these powered up coils. Now, if you wanted some sort of changed, powered down version of Constrictor, or you wanted to add a bit more detail to your Omega Red figure. Next up, Absorbing Man. Again, is he a Hulk villain or is he a Thor villain? I personally think he's more of a Hulk villain, but here we have just a few rogues from the Hulk and Thor gallery. We have Malekith, we have Abomination, we have the leader, we have Ulik, and we have his wife Titania. Just wanted to quickly include this look at the Absorbing Man with himself as a Build-A-Figure about 10 years ago now. And with his wife Titania. You can definitely tell that the height of Absorbing Man, he's extremely tall, too tall. He's built off the old Sandman Build-A-Figure, and he definitely need to be shorter, and even this release now of Absorbing Man is too tall compared to his wife. But somehow, the Build-A-Figure is probably still going to hold up in your collection because of those abilities that he is showing. We're going to keep Titania, as this was the storyline where Absorbing Man and Titania met and kindled up. So, we actually have here the other Secret Wars tied figures that I have. We have Beyonder. Beyonder and Titania were the Wave 1 villains. But Beyonder actually doesn't get his own sort of human form until Secret Wars 2. But we also have here the hero of Secret Wars Wave 1, Captain America, with the Ultimates Cap Shield. And we have the star of Secret Wars Wave 2, Daredevil, even though he was actually never tied to the Secret Wars story. Though, for a very short amount of time, Beyonder actually gave him back his sight. But I think this actually has delivered some really decent figures. Daredevil and Captain America are by far my favorites right here. And they've all got flaws. Captain America's ab crunch isn't particularly great. Daredevil's foot mobility is pretty poor. And a Bucky Cap body, Daredevil, actually holds up. Titania, she has bad neck movement, especially with that thick hair. Constrictor is lacking in paint on his back in particular. And also just the arms. Beyonder is so ratchety, he is very stiff to pose around. And then Absorbing Man doesn't even live up to his name. They do all look really good together. But if you had to pick, this is kind of the good thing about not having a Build-A-Figure tied to this, is that you can just grab whoever you want. If I was more restricted on my budget, if I can only get one figure per wave, I would still get the heroes that you have here, Captain America and Daredevil, because they are arguably the best versions of those characters that Hasbro has released in a long time. On top of that, they will go anywhere in a display. Captain America, I love the blues. Daredevil is a really greatly articulated figure, and I don't mind the exaggerated black accents because it pays tribute to the classic 80s 3.75-inch toy. Okay, it is the comparison of the body types. So, to start the analysis of Absorbing Man, we're going to go with Hercules and Luke Cage. And I love Hercules. He's one of my favorite top 10 figures in my collection. I just love this look of him from Avengers Unleashed. We also have Constrictor's body type, which is Vulcan. But in particular, I brought out Vision because he's got the hole in his back. And that's for the capes generally. Okay, so now for an MCU and just another villain comparison, we have Stealth Suit Spider-Man from Spider-Man Far From Home as our main MCU comparison. We also have here from Falcon and the Winter Soldier MCU Baron Zemo. I still need to get myself that comic one, but it's not a really good price to pay for it right now. And we have Kang the Conqueror from the Joe Fix-It Build-A-Figure wave, easily one of the best figures in my collection as well. I love this thing. But the reason I have Baron Zemo and Kang here is because they're both characters who are in the Secret Wars line. So I would really love to see an updated, pinless Baron Zemo, and I think a lot of people who don't want to pay for that time throne, that time chair, would be super happy just to get this version of Kang, maybe with a few little alterations and articulation. This previous release of Kang came with 5 total hands and a gun and a Build-A-Figure piece, but I guess you could, if you're going to keep with that stupid lenticular shield gimmick, you just phase out the Build-A-Figure piece. Okay, so for my next reviews coming up, here we have from the MCU, Deadpool and Wolverine film Wave 2, Cowboy Pool, and Brown Suit Wolverine, and they look great together, and I'm debating still whether I review them together or in single releases. Finally, the mixed company, mixed comparison part of this review. Here we have, starting off, Greg the Carbonized Stormtrooper from Hasbro Star Wars Black Series. From Mattel, we have from that Masterverse line, the 7-inch Merman from He-Man, Masters of the Universe, Revelations. We also have Blocky's Elmo front and center. We have Jada Toys M. Bison from Street Fighter, easily their best Street Fighter figure in my opinion. And we have from McFarlane's DC Multiverse Collector line, Collector Edition, that stupid Silver Banner crap, Captain Karras. So what are my final thoughts on the Marvel Legends Secret Wars Wave 2 Absorbing Man and Constrictor? I thought these figures would be sellouts. Daredevil was an absolute sellout. Falcon is pretty popular because it's his classic style that everyone loves. Magic is a surprise hit, but no, they didn't really do that like I thought. But the problem is, $42 a piece. Constrictor especially, accessories-wise, sucks. Absorbing Man, accessory-wise, pretty decent. But what happens? He doesn't actually live up to his name of being Carl Crusher Creel, the Absorbing Man, because he doesn't come with anything to absorb except his lenticular shield has him transforming. I don't know whose idea it was to basically later down the track, and it's guaranteed later down the track that they're going to release possibly a stone or silver version of the exact same figure. I guarantee it. It's going to be a stone or silver version. Most commonly in the comics, he turns into a stone, silver, or metallic freak. And he looks awesome. So I would love to have that. Then basically you could just switch out the parts with the current Absorbing Man, so it looks like he's powering up. Or just skip this version and get a completely powered up version when they do it. I guarantee they'll do it by next year. Constrictor's missing paint on his back. I don't like that. I don't like that they gave him that weird paint boot treatment. That's weird. But they both articulate really decently. I really like them both still. But I'm going to have to give them low scores. So I'm going to give Absorbing Man a 6 or a generous 6.5 out of 10. Constrictor, I'm going to give a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10. But you're probably wondering, why is Constrictor getting a higher score, yet you've had a few more complaints about him? Well, Constrictor actually lives up to his name. Like, Absorbing Man is not just a dude. Okay, so there's that point to argue. But on top of that, I think that the Vulcan body is still a really solid body, and articulation-wise, he's going to pose really well in your collection. The reason both these guys are going to lose points, it's simple to answer. Accessories, very little for Constrictor. Absorbing Man, quite a few, but again, it's not him absorbing. On top of that, I think this is a fault of Wave 1, that Titania, I think, should have been taller, because in the comics, Titania is actually a taller character than Absorbing Man, so they're around the same height in figure form, so maybe Absorbing Man could have been a bit shorter, but I do think that they could have gotten better articulation treatment, far better accessories to actually represent the characters themselves, and some better paint. Constrictor is obviously missing the pattern in his back, which is such a shame. Absorbing Man, I was thinking about it after I made my thoughts on him clear about the hair on his forearms. And again, it should have been on his body all around his arms, but also on his chest. He has a lot of artwork where he has a bit of a hairy chest. So that would have been good to also have that. Makes the sort of skin tone body look more realistic. I do have to point out, though, that when I was doing these photos, I really enjoyed posing Absorbing Man and Constrictor around. I'm not doing them justice, okay? Because they're more than average figures. They're a little more than average. But I think the victors of this video for me, in terms of my figures, has to be sort of my little Avengers lineup that I've quickly made. Vision, Captain America, Daredevil, and Hulk. Especially Hulk. He just blows that Maximum series out of the water. Even the Secret Wars Captain America. I also love the Capcom version. I really like the MCU caps. But that Secret Wars one to me is just perfect. The Secret Wars line has done really well in capturing the looks of the characters. Like Constrictor and Absorbing Man, if you just think about them from the front, they look really good. Titania and Beyonder are brand new sculpts. Captain America and Daredevil, I've made my points clear on them. I think they are the best of the Secret Wars offerings right now. Having Constrictor, having Absorbing Man, it made me think about wrestling for some reason. How there's top talent, mid-card talent, and upcoming talent. And how the mid-card talent generally take a dive, so there's the up-and-coming talent that eventually become the top stars. This is how it kind of feels to me in terms of Absorbing Man and Constrictor, is that they're kind of taking the dive, that the Marvel Legends team has put in less effort for those guys, yet put in more effort for someone like Magic and Daredevil. So yeah, final ratings of Constrictor, 6.5 to 7. Final rating of Absorbing Man, 6 to 6.5. You can read my pages right now on the positives and negatives of these guys. I'm going to have them separate. You can pause the review right now if you want to read up on my thoughts. But something that I kind of appreciate coming out of this review is that older figures like the 80th anniversary Hulk still hold up and are doing a far greater job at capturing the design and the likeness and even just feel great in your hands when you're posing them compared to, shall we say, a 2025 or 2026 Marvel Legends figure. So yeah, those are my final thoughts on Constrictor and Absorbing Man. Or just Man. So, if you really liked this video, and I'm hoping you did, please give it a like, please subscribe, and check out my other reviews. I'm a small channel, I'm slowly growing. Those little actions really help boost the channel's growth and to be noticed by other collectors just like you. So, please check this review out. Send it to other people if they're interested, if they're torn on getting Absorbing Man and Constrictor. I definitely think that they are the characters you should wait to try and get them on some form of clearance. So this has been SFigReviews. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched to the end, well, that really helps. So thank you. So now, on to the next reviews, which I am debating what to do with them. Cowboy Pool and Brown Suit Wolverine from the MCU film Deadpool and Wolverine. This has been SFigReviews. Thanks for watching.